Authenticity equals freedom is our theme, and we're very, very happy to welcome our very own Reverend Frida. Thank you.
Oh my God, my heart is so full right now. Happy. You said pretty much everything that I needed to say. That's when you are on one accord. And let me in. You know, the thing about love, the thing about the universe, it's like it's free will. It is free will. We are given free will. Nothing is forced upon us. And so when we are given this free will to choose, and we choose to let it in, to come within us, and we connect to the source, to the power that will assist us on this thing called life, on our journey. So thank you for that reminder. Let me in. I am always here. I am always knocking. I am here right now. I always say yes. People don't understand. The universe is always saying yes to your will and yes to your way. Let me in. That song was amazing and beautiful. It has touched my soul. Authenticity, living or equals freedom. Authenticity equals freedom. But you've got to realize that it's going to cost you, because everything we do comes with the price. The freedom to be unapologetically who you are and to connect with others in a genuine way. The question is, who are you, and are you real? Are you real? For some of us, I've heard it says, what you see is what you get. But what I'm saying is that what you see is not always what you get, because we don't know sometimes who we are authentically. Now, listen, being authentic is a lifelong process. This is not an overnight journey, because we have different experiences along the way, and that when we have experiences, those things that worked for us one time might not work for us now, might not be for our highest good. And the beauty of life is that we have the ability, we have the key to change, which will equal freedom in our life. So the key is to have the strength, to have the ability to recognize that I have the power to change. Self-awareness. And we've heard this morning talking about being still. The only way that you will be able to recognize who you really are is in the stillness. I remember the song years ago that says, "Be still and know that I am God." Be still, because in the stillness, you will be able to recognize and understand who you truly are, your values, your strengths, your weaknesses, and your vulnerability. Because if you don't stand for something, you've heard this before, you'll fall for anything. Shakespeare says, "To thine own self be true." In other words, it's about self-ownership. Are you owning yourself? Are you accepting accountability of choices that you're making? Sometimes we accept less. Why? Because out of loneliness, out of abandonment, out of fear, sometimes we sell ourselves out. The one thing I can say about myself is that I've always been able to be accountable for the choices that I've made and the choices that I make. Now, that doesn't mean that all the choices that I've made have been for my highest good, because I've truly made choices. I can remember making a choice saying, now, this might not be the right choice, but because of where I was, my level of desperation, feeling lonely, feeling not worthy, I chose maybe what was not for my highest good, but I accepted the accountability and the responsibility of the choice I made, because there's always a price to pay. And when the time came for me to pay the price for the choice I made, that's where I began to grow and to begin to get my insight and to begin to see, wow, where I am at that particular time. Acceptance is how you show up this lifetime, being authentic. Listen, in order to be authentic, he said it, Happy said it, you must go within, because this is an inside job. If you want to break the cycle, you got to pay attention to the patterns in your life. When we live on repeat, it means that we have yet to learn or get what we need to get out of that situation. Have you ever seen different person, same outcome? Different situation, same outcome. And who's the common denominator? It's you. It's you. You attract where you are. If you want to know a little bit about who you really are, check out your friends. Check out those that are close to you. If you say, oh, my friends are crazy. Well, now, hey. When you learn the power of being authentic, like he said on that tree, when you learn the power of who you are uniquely and what it is that you bring to the universe, when you know your own self-value, when you don't try to compete with others, but you accept who you are and how you express yourself in this thing called life, it will not get any better than that. But now there's things that it requires in order for you to be authentic. It requires courage, because we have been so conditioned. I can remember the very first time when I really felt like I went to my mom to let her know how I was feeling about a situation. And I can remember her shooting me down. And I can remember her saying to me, listen, you are only to be seen and not heard. I can remember telling me that my feelings and what I feel and how I see life was not the way to do it, that I had no right to have an opinion. And sometimes because we are conditioned that way, what we use for survival as a child sometimes becomes a handicap as an adult. Because as a child, we needed to learn how to survive. And especially if you came from an environment that was not nurturing, especially if you came from situations where your parents did not create a safe space, especially when you were taught to disappear, to be invisible, that what you feel was not valuable. And so sometimes we find ourselves as an adult using those same survival techniques And so we are afraid to be authentically who we are because we are afraid of other people's opinion. I live by your opinion of me is not my reality. You have the right to have your opinion, but I have the right to live my life to the fullest. Listen, if I don't worry about your praise, then I don't have to accept your criticism. Ooh, see how powerful? Because listen, people are fickle. One day they love you. Oh my goodness, you are amazing. And as soon as you do something that they don't agree with, and especially with social network, baby, they will bury you. And then when you dig yourself out of that grave and pull yourself back up, those same people will praise how you survived. Girl, how did you do that? How did you do that? Because they were the ones that threw the dirt on your grave. But what they didn't know is that because you were buried, you could grow. Because you were buried and you were still, you could get the nutrients, you could get the insight, you can close your ears to the voices of the loud noise and begin to see where your inner strength comes from, because this is an inside job. Transformation starts with you. And I say this all the time. You create your own reality by the choices that you make or the choices that you don't make. But listen, there's no right or wrong. It is what it is. The universe doesn't judge us. We are here to experiment and experience life. We didn't come here to be perfect. We came from perfection. You know the story about I was a star and I was shining and I was bright star like all the other stars. But I wanted to feel, what did it feel like to be a star? And so I left and I came down and I came into darkness. And in the darkness, I was able to feel the light of love. We're here to feel. We're here to experiment. We are here to have joy, discovery. We are here to be authentically who we are, which equals the freedom to be. Authenticity says, I am free to be. You create your own reality. Why are we so scared of ourselves? I remember seeing this short clip that really, really did touch my spirit. And it was about an elephant. It was a story of an elephant that had lived itself and captured all of its life. And they had this elephant, and now the elephant was retiring. They were retiring the elephant. And when they took the elephant out the cage, and the elephant bagged up out the cage, and then the elephant turned around, and the elephant saw this land and all of these things that, it could be free. And the elephant turned back around, and the elephant went back in the cage because the elephant did not know who he was. The elephant did not know his power because the elephant had been captured and had been conditioned and had been taught that it was powerless. And sometimes in our lives, we've been taught, we've been conditioned. We're like the elephant, that we are powerless, that we've created an environment for ourselves that we can't thrive in. because we've not taken the time to go within, to tap in, to know that our source never runs dry, to know that we are powerful. Greater is a power in each one of us than anything that's in this world. We are greater than the situations. We are greater than our stories, whether it's a story of molestation, whether it's a story of racism, whether it's a story of sexism, whether it's a story of religion. We are greater. We are so much more. We're so much more. And the only way you are able to tap into that power is to take that moment to discover. Garrick said in the meditation, see yourself. You must become the observer. See yourself. When I meditate, I'm able to see myself without judgment. I'm able to see some of the same voices. They say we have 92,000 thoughts a day. And so why do you feel exhausted? Why do you feel despair? Why do you feel stuck? Because it's the same thoughts every day. And a lot of those thoughts are thoughts that other people have given us, and we have accepted as truth. We've been taught from a little bitty thing to conform. We've been taught from a little bitty thing to compete. We've been taught from a little bitty person to be approved of in order to get the cookie. I did so many things for my mother to just say, I see you and you are good. But guess what? People cannot give you what they have not given themselves. She could not call me good because she felt like she was not good. You can want to give it, but you can't give what you don't have. I've given all my life, but today I give nothing. I share. Right now, I'm sharing with you what has been shared with me. Because when you give, and that's especially those that are in the nonprofit world and those that are social workers and those, you give out. It's about sharing. Because when you share, that means you have first nurtured yourself. Oh, we've been taught to conform. Now, the thing that being authentic is not, it is not about being perfect. The thing that being authentic is not, it is not about control. What authentic is not about looking outside ourselves for love and acceptance. It is not about people pleasing. How many times? I spent an entire lifetime people pleasing, wanting to be accepted, wanting to be loved. And so how that showed up in my life was that I constantly sacrificed myself for other people. When I wanted to say no, I said yes. I constantly sold myself short. Because who am I without your stamp of approval? Oh, but when you go within and you recognize that your power and your source is within, you unplug. My son, I realized one day we were both plugged into the same oxygen tank. And I was coming up short because I was constantly trying to please him, constantly because I was a lesbian, wanting him to love me. Love me. I know I'm a lesbian, but listen, I'm still a good mom. I know I'm a lesbian, but still, how much do you need? I know I'm a lesbian, but I can't be happy until you're happy. Oh, but one day I said to him, this is who I am. See, when you plug in and you become authentically who you are, you're giving people an opportunity to either choose you, to love you, accept you for who you are, or not. But people cannot accept you more than you've accepted yourself. If I still having issues within myself of my sexuality, I'm still not really comfortable with who I am. How the heck can I expect you to be comfortable with who I am? You can't give me no more than what I can give myself. And when the day came and I said to him, I love you, God knows I do. I gave you life. Yes, I did. And I did all that I thought I could do. Not meaning that every choice I made was the right choice, but every choice I made came from what I felt and thought was for the highest good. My job with you is done. And if you can't love me for who I am, I'm okay with it. And I can still love you where you are. When I unplugged, we have the best relationship now, because when you love yourself, respect yourself, accept yourself, and the freedom to be who you are, you give people the right, the opportunity, the choice to say, wow. Because without that, the relationships that you have developed are built off of sinking sand because they are not real. And I'm telling you this, I would rather have one or two real relationships than a bunch of bullshit. Ooh, did I say that? Being authentic starts with self-awareness. Authentic living is living consciously. It's being aware of the choices that you make and to understand that you have the right to choose again and again and again and again. Living consciously. What worked last year might not work this year. But being honest with yourself, the self before the cover up. Now, how you are doing that, being okay with yourself, going beyond your shame, the judgment, and understanding this. Listen, what you have to understand is that you've done your best. See, that's why it starts with you. Because when you recognize you've done your best, even with all the choices that you've made, and you let yourself off the hook, then guess what? You can let other people off the hook because you recognize, Garrett, they've done their best too. Because that's all we can do. You can always have, what's that, hindsight of 50-50. You can always look back and say, what was I thinking? Why did I make that choice? Oh my God. I was talking to my girlfriend the other day, and we were laughing and joking. And she said, you remember that time you did such and such a thing? And I said, oh, girl, I forgot about that. When you are honest with yourself, you can never judge anybody else because you know the skeletons in your closet. I know you've dressed up and cleaned up and put some makeup on and had your hair cut, but you know you. I'm so grateful that when I was coming up, they didn't have this social network. Baby, some of the things that I've done, you would click off the Zoom right now. You'd be like, girl, you know it. But when you can be honest with yourself, that's where I was at that particular time. That was the best choice that I could make. Then guess what? That person that abused you, that was their best. Forgiveness is not for them. It's to let yourself off the hook because you recognize you are more than the abuse. You are more than the story. And if you stay hooked on it, now you are abusing yourself. That's how powerful you are. Understanding that you've done your best. It's not for looking for a gratification on the outside, not for charging up your charge card. It's not for being a sex addict. It's not for drinking and drugs. It's okay to drink, and it's legal now to do marijuana, but not when it's trying to numb you. Ooh, being authentic at its core. It's about being totally in integrity with oneself. Because sometimes we've been buried alive. We've been buried with other people's opinion of who they say I am. We've been buried with shame. We've been buried with non-acceptance. We have no purpose in our lives. And I want you to hear this. Who I came here to be is within me. If you don't get nothing else from what I'm sharing today, who I came here to be is within me. That's why you recognize that sometimes there is a tug of war within us. You know, you have that tug of war where the soul knows its purpose, it knows what it came here to do. But again, the mind that holds on to the pain, that holds on to the disappointment. But let me tell you this, the soul will not renege on its purpose. So you can make excuses. You can say, well, you know, I'm Black, racism. The soul said, I have nothing to do with that because our purpose in life is, and the only way you know your purpose is in the quietness of who you are, because you get to feel it. Ooh, between the soul, the authentic self is soul made visible. It's the mind that holds us in bondage. Like right now, some of you guys are listening to me, and some of us, our mind is in the future. Oh, as soon as she get through talking, I got to do this. Because it's impossible sometimes to be in the now. Because in the now is where we have our regrets. In the now, we always feel like we're short. In the now, we always feel like once I get there. Well, let me tell you, there is no there to get. Because if you're not all right now, don't think that once that book becomes the #1 seller and you done made $5 million, that you're going to be okay over there. Now is all we have. In the now is where God resides, in the now. Living authentically, it takes courage. Oh yeah, you got to be strong. You got to be strong. You got to be strong. You got to go within. It takes trust. You got to learn how to trust yourself. Some of us, we said we've been betrayal. They betrayed us. They backstabbed us. Well, they didn't backstab you. You backstabbed yourself. Because let me tell you, our intuition is always working. And our intuition is that little voice that says, Have you ever walked in the room and somebody, you go, But when you learn how to recognize your intuition, your GPS from within, that inner guidance, it won't guide you wrong. And when you learn that, say, you know, like right now, when I feel something, oh, I'm good. I don't have to investigate. I don't have to cross the boundary, the line. I don't have to test it. I don't have to check it twice because I've learned. I'm like, when I feel it, I trust it. I know it's for my highest good because that's my GPS. That's my inner guidance. Even it's so funny because with my car, you know how you have your GPS and that girl be like, turn left 300 feet from now. And I'd be like, is this 300 feet? I don't think this is three. I don't. And then I go past it and then it goes, turn around, turn around, turn around. It's the same thing with our lives. But when you recognize it because you've been still, because you checked in, you can say, oh, okay, no, I get it. I get it. She looks good. I get it. She smells good. I get it. She has the right qualifications. I get it. She's educated and intelligent. I get it. But my intuition, my inner guidance said, beep, beep, beep. I got to bag it up and shut it down. But you got to have courage to stand on your own truth. You're on your own truth and be willing to release people, places, sometimes jobs, sometimes family, sometimes religion. But the benefit of that is freedom, profound peace that does not depend on being liked. Joy is an inside job. Joy. Joy is your birthright. Joy is who you are. Joy is not connected to what's happening or what's not going to happen. Joy is when you wake up in the morning and you are just reminded of who you are and the opportunity that you've been granted. Joy. Joy. You wake up, you open your eyes, joy. Joy is when you hear that bird sing in the morning. There is not an orchestra that can sing like the harmony of the birds to allow you to recognize, I am alive, I am alive. And when you're living authentically, uniquely, and you've accepted all of who you are like, I am alive. Whew, the benefits when you have the power to stop being buried alive. When you are content, because that's what we want, contentment. We just want to be content. And the contentment comes when you accept yourself authentically. And with that equals freedom. I am free to be. And let me tell you now, once you get there, it doesn't stop. With each level and experience of your life, you get to be free again. And the only difference is each and every time you elevate, like Happy said, you have the tools to apply it to your life. Oh, but when you get there, Don't be like the elephant, because you're going to look around, and in the land of freedom is going to be uncertainty. And in the land of freedom is going to be, I don't know. You live in the land of I don't know. Because see, once you think you know, you've just blocked the answer. You've just blocked the source. But when you live in the I don't know, that means you're open to the possibilities of it all. I live in the I don't know. It takes the weight of the world off your shoulders. You were not born to know everything. You were not created to have all the answers. But your answer is always there. Once you release the control and surrender to it all. When you're authentically who you are, you get that freedom to be. Oh, I'm free to be me. Your opinion of me is not my reality. You don't like who I am? I'm okay with that. Because what's important is that I like who I am today. And that's Boston telling me my time is up. God, thank you so very much.